On the night of October 7th, 2005, flames tore through the quiet Kansas city of Lawrence. At the Boardwalk Apartments, a three-story complex that housed students, families, and working-class residents, chaos erupted in minutes. What began as an ordinary evening quickly descended into a living nightmare. Fire alarms blared, smoke filled the hallways, and residents scrambled for their lives as fire swallowed the building whole. Some jumped from windows to escape the inferno. Others tried desperately to carry loved ones to safety, only to be overcome by the thick, choking smoke. By the time firefighters battled their way into the blaze, 3 people were dead, 17 more were injured, and an entire community was scarred forever. Among the victims was Nicole Bingham, a 21-year-old history major at the University of Kansas. She was described as bright, kind, and fiercely loyal to her friends. Yolanda Riddle, a 33-year-old social worker, had dedicated her life to helping others, but couldn't escape the fire that claimed her own. Jose Gonzalez, a 50-year-old electrician, was remembered as a loving brother and friend. Their lives ended not because of an accident, but because of a decision that prosecutors would later say was both reckless and deadly. Just 4 days later, police arrested a former tenant of the Boardwalk Apartments, Jason Allen Rose, a troubled 19-year-old who had lived in the complex before being evicted. Rose wasn't a hardened criminal. He wasn't part of a gang or an organized crime ring. But investigators said he carried with him a deep well of anger, resentment, and instability. And on that October night, he lit the match that would forever change dozens of lives. The trial revealed chilling details. Witnesses testified about Rose's behavior in the days before the fire. Jurors heard how quickly the blaze spread, trapping victims before alarms could even alert them. Families wept in the courtroom as they described their loss, and survivors spoke of waking up in the hospital with burns covering their bodies. In the end, Rose was not convicted of murder. Instead, the jury found him guilty of 3 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 1 count of aggravated arson, and 7 counts of aggravated battery. The sentence, just over 10 years in prison. For many, it felt like a devastating blow. How could 3 deaths, 17 injuries, and the destruction of an entire apartment complex add up to only a decade behind bars? For the families, the scars would never fade. Nicole's mother stood in court and told the judge through tears, "My daughter's life was significant, and I want you to know her." Survivors spoke of fear, of nightmares, of physical pain that would never fully heal. And in the community of Lawrence, one haunting truth echoed through the ashes: a single match in the hands of one man had destroyed countless lives. This is the story of Jason Allen Rose, the Boardwalk Apartments fire, and the thin line between justice and tragedy. Classification: homicide. Characteristics: arson, number of victims, 3. Date of murders: October 7, 2005. Date of arrest: 4 days after date of birth, 1986. Victims profile: Nicole Bingham, 21. A University of Kansas student majoring in history. Helen Yolanda Riddle, 33, a social worker, and Jose Gonzalez, 50, an electrician. Method of murder: fire location: Douglas County, Kansas. USA status. Sentenced on June 18, 2007 to 10 years and 2 months in prison. The maximum sentence he could have received for 3 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 1 count of aggravated arson, and 7 counts of aggravated battery. Rose gets 10-year sentence. Victims: their relatives question if punishment is adequate. June 19, 2007. Knowing that her brother lived his life with no regrets gives Maria Gonzalez and her family comfort when she thinks of the apartment fire that took his life. It is that same thought that she hopes will ease her pain in the days following the sentencing of the man convicted of setting Boardwalk Apartments on fire in October 2005. "He was my best friend," Gonzalez said of her brother Jose Gonzalez. Even though we have to move on, it's not something that we can overcome in a day. Jason Allen Rose, 21, was sentenced Monday to 10 years and 2 months in prison, the maximum sentence he could have received for 3 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 1 count of aggravated arson, and 7 counts of aggravated battery. Rose's prison term could have been much longer, but Kansas law does not allow a person charged and convicted of multiple crimes to serve more than double the sentence of the most serious offense. You take a look at the most serious charge, District Attorney Charles Branson said, and that becomes your primary charge for sentencing purposes. Emotional comments. Rose was convicted May 11th of setting the fire that killed Nicole Bingham, Yolanda Riddle, and Jose Gonzalez and injured 17 people, but the jury stopped short of convicting him of first-degree murder. Like other family and friends of the victims, Maria Gonzalez said she thinks the jury's decision wasn't harsh enough. "I find no peace that his life meant nothing to you," Maria Gonzalez said during a series of emotional statements made by her then Nancy Bingham, mother of Nicole and Lee McHatton, who survived the blaze. "Jose meant the world to me and my family," Gonzalez said, trembling. "As for you, Jason Rose, may God forgive you for what you have done." McHatton also provided a statement. "Our wounds and the wounds of our families are a constant reminder of what has taken place," she said. The Kansas University graduate suffered third-degree burns to her hands and feet and now lives in Denver, where she works as an advocate for people with disabilities. No expression from Rose. Throughout the statements and the ruling made by District Judge Jack Murphy, Rose appeared vacant, expressing little emotion. He declined to make a statement as the hearing drew to a close. A former foster child who had a troubled childhood, Rose had moved out on his own to Boardwalk Apartments just weeks before the fire was set at the apartment complex in the 500 block of Fireside Drive. With time already served and the possibility of a 15% reduction in the sentence for good behavior, the time Rose will serve could be about 8 or 9 years, Branson said. In his comments to Rose, Murphy wondered how the tragedy could have been lessened. "While I'm not saying this to lessen your responsibility, I don't recall one person say, 'I heard a fire alarm or a smoke alarm,'" the judge said. Likewise, there was one issue regarding the delay in response to the fire by the fire department. That question was unanswered in the trial. Upon release from prison, Rose will undergo a 3-year supervisory period. Following Rose's departure from the courtroom, his attorney Ron Evans was busy signing paperwork to appeal. Evans declined further comment. A mother's lament. Taking the stand to make her statement, Nancy Bingham told the judge she wanted everyone to know who Nicole really was. She read her thoughts from pages covered with her 22-year-old daughter's pictures. "I felt that the trial had the victims just as statistics. They weren't really people," she said. During the trial, the only pictures jurors were permitted to see of the victims were of their charred remains. "My daughter's life was significant, and I want you to know her," said Bingham, who left the courtroom uncertain of the judge's sentencing ruling. "They got the maximum sentence that they could get," she said. "Because I didn't really have any expectations, I can't really say that I was surprised. I think it makes sense that the judge would give him the maximum just because of the severity of the damage." Telling others about Nicole gives Bingham some solace in coming to terms with her daughter's death. "Mums are supposed to protect their children and not let anything happen to them," she said. "In reality, that is not always possible." In her final remarks, she spoke of a conversation she had with Nicole a year before the blaze.
"Mom, you can never die,"
Nicole told her mother. No, you can never die. I couldn't take care of myself." Bingham paused, looking up from her notes. "I don't know if I can take care of myself either," Bingham told the court. "I would never want her to feel this." Convicted arsonist sentenced to 10 years. "I am frightened for us all," apartment fire victim says. By Steve Fry, The Capital Journal. Tuesday, June 19th, 2007. Lawrence burn victim. Lee McHatton's hands shook Monday as she told a Douglas County District Court judge the horrific impact the Boardwalk Apartments fire had on her. McHatton, now 26, ran through fire to escape the Octi. 7th 2005 inferno that killed 3 neighbors, injured more than 7 others, and destroyed the 3-story apartment building. She spoke during the sentencing of Jason Rose, 21, who was convicted of 3 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 1 count of aggravated arson, and 7 counts of aggravated battery linked to injuries suffered by people caught in the fire that destroyed the Boardwalk Apartments, a 76-unit building at 510-524 Fireside in northwest Lawrence. Rose was sentenced to the maximum term of 10 years and 2 months in prison, Monday receiving 5 years and 1 month for the arson conviction and a total of 5 years and 1 month for convictions on 3 counts of manslaughter and 7 counts of aggravated battery. Douglas County District Attorney Charles Branson said Kansas law allows only the doubling of the primary offense, carrying the longest sentence, which in the Rose case was the aggravated arson count. Before Rose was sentenced, McHatton told District Judge Jack Murphy that for some survivors the fire's consequences wouldn't end with Rose's sentencing, that the nightmares and sleepless nights would continue. McHatton, a University of Kansas arts major in 2005, now lives in Denver. She disagreed with the verdicts of Douglas County jurors who convicted Rose of the arson charge but found him guilty of the manslaughter charges rather than the more serious felony first-degree murder charges. The manslaughter convictions carried a 32-month term for each conviction, while the murder convictions would have carried a sentence of 20 years to life for each. "I am frightened for Jason Rose, and I am frightened for us all," McHatton said. "Life deserves to be protected," she said. McHatton awakened October 7, 2005, in her second-story apartment, opened her door, and found her porch and railing on fire. At the top of the stairwell, she covered her face with a blanket, then ran down the steps, tripped on the stairs, rolled to the bottom, and rolled to extinguish the flames burning her. McHatton was airlifted to the University of Kansas Hospital, where she underwent skin grafts for burns on her face, hands and feet, then physical therapy. Killed in the fire were Nicole Bingham, 21, a University of Kansas student majoring in history, Yolanda Riddle, 33, a social worker, and Jose Gonzalez, 50, an electrician. Maria Gonzalez told Murphy that her brother, Jose Gonzalez, meant the world to me and my family. "As for you, Jason Rose, may God forgive you for what you've done." Nancy Bingham of Wichita spoke about the loss of her daughter Nicole. "Her life is significant, and I want you to know her," the mother told Murphy. Nicole Bingham overcame a heart problem and surgery, the threat of dying at any time due to another heart problem, and the usual ups and downs of a teen. She also was loyal to her friends and lived her life with passion, her mother said. "Nicole, I love you so much," her mother ended. Assistant District Attorney David Melton asked Murphy to sentence Rose to consecutive terms. "The consequences of his actions will be felt for lifetimes," Melton said. Ron Evans, the assistant public defender representing Rose, sought concurrent sentences, which would have resulted in a sentence of 5 years and 1 month. In sentencing, Rose Murphy told him his actions were willful and wanton, affecting dozens of people. Murphy also praised several young Haskell University students who saved lives by waking sleeping Boardwalk residents. The judge questioned the delay of the Lawrence Fire Department in responding to the blaze and noted that not one witness was awakened by smoke alarms during the fire. The closest fire station is about 6 blocks southwest of the apartment complex. Rose, who has served 614 days in jail already and is eligible to receive up to 15% good time off his sentence, could be released in another 7 years. The fire at the Boardwalk Apartments was more than just a blaze that consumed wood walls and possessions. It was a tragedy that consumed lives, futures, and the sense of safety within an entire community. 3 innocent people, Nicole Bingham, Yolanda Riddle, and Jose Gonzalez, never came home. 17 others were left scarred not only with burns and broken bones, but with memories that would follow them forever. In the courtroom, those left behind sought answers, justice, and perhaps some measure of peace. Mothers spoke of children taken too soon. Survivors described the terror of waking in a world of fire, crawling through smoke and praying for escape. Every word carried the weight of lives permanently altered. And yet when the gavel came down, justice felt unfinished. Jason Allen Rose was sentenced to just over 10 years in prison, the maximum penalty under Kansas law for the charges he faced, but to many painfully insufficient. For the families who had lost so much, 10 years felt like a fraction of the punishment deserved. The law, bound by technical definitions and sentencing limits, seemed unable to reflect the true devastation caused by one night of reckless fire. Nicole's mother held up her daughter's picture in court, reminding the world that she was not just a statistic, not just a victim of a fire. Yolanda's family remembered her dedication to helping others, even as she could not save herself. Jose's loved ones spoke of his kindness of the hole left behind when his life was stolen. Their voices reminded everyone that behind every headline are faces, stories, and love cut short. Jason Allen Rose will one day walk free, his sentence served, but freedom will never return for the victims. Their families will carry the loss every day, their scars deeper than any prison term could ever mirror. The Boardwalk Apartments. Fire leaves us with haunting questions. How do we measure justice when lives are lost? Can any sentence ever truly reflect the weight of 3 deaths and 17 shattered futures? And how do we as a society ensure that such negligence, such recklessness, never again ignites such destruction? In the end, the flames that night did more than burn a building. They exposed the fragility of life, the imperfections of justice, and the enduring strength of those left behind. The ashes may have cooled long ago, but the memory of October 7th, 2005 still smoulders in the hearts of those who lived through it. This was not just a fire, it was a tragedy, and it will never be forgotten.